Some people are so drunk on power, they think the world owes them something. You know what I mean? I used to believe stuff like that only happened in movies or maybe the kind of neighborhoods you read about in weird online forums. But no, it can happen right where you live, and if you think it couldn't happen to you, I got a story that'll shake that confidence right down to the roots. Picture this. 3 weeks that almost broke us, thousands lost, our names dragged through the mud. And it all started because my wife Diana just smiled politely and refused to join the Silver Pine Estates HOA. That's it. That's the crime. But you want to talk about a hook? Try waking up to find out your wife's enemy is about to call the cops and claim she's a violent threat only to realize that your wife's been playing a game no one else even knows the rules to. So here's what really happened. This whole mess kicked off with Veronica, let's call her that. It's not her real name. But you get the Vibia woman who strutted around with a folder full of rules, acting like she was Moses coming down a mountain. She showed up at our door for the 3rd time in a week, her face flushed with the kind of outrage you only see in people who've never heard the word no. She started waving her HOA docs around like she was about to swat a fly, screeching about how we were destroying 3 years of perfect, 100% neighborhood compliance by refusing to sign up and pay the $275 monthly. You ever been yelled at by someone you just can't take seriously? Diana just stood there with this tiny smile, not even a flinch, like she was watching the pilot of some bad reality show. We're not interested. Thank you. Calm, final. Veronica, she didn't take it well, eyes twitching, voice climbing octaves, dropping these not-so-subtle threats about how people who don't cooperate end up learning what happens in her world. Like she was running a mob, not a book club. She left our porch muttering about teaching us a lesson, and I'll admit, even I felt the chill of knowing we just made an enemy who thrived on being in control. I didn't know then that Diana wasn't worried, not even a little, because Veronica didn't know who Diana really was. All I saw was my wife quietly filing every single fake citation law in too long, car parked wrong, mailbox unapproved, you name it. 7 violations in a week. $400 in fines, all bogus. The neighbors stopped talking to us. Frank, across the street, apologized and told me in whispers that Veronica was saying we were troublemakers. The neighborhood kids who'd been playing soccer out front suddenly vanished. Social death swift, surgical, and orchestrated by a woman who thrived on fear. But Diana? She was unbothered, methodically taking photos, keeping records, making calls on the porch at dusk always with that strange half-smile. Every time I pressed her, why are you letting her do this? Why not fight back? She'd say, trust me, Mike. Sometimes you let someone think they're winning, and then you catch them in the act. I thought she was just being optimistic. Turns out, she was setting a trap. Week 2, things escalated. Now we're talking late-night emails to neighbors, anonymous reports, even security patrols rolling by our house at 8 p.m. because my jazz playlist was supposedly disturbing the peace. Frank came over, voice low, saying nobody actually complained, thought Veronica was making it up. I started to realize this wasn't about neighborhood harmony. It was about control. And then the twist, Diana's real job. See, what I didn't know, and what Veronica never bothered to learn, was that Diana had moved us here with a purpose. She'd been investigating HOA fraud for months, using her maiden name to stay under the radar, and Veronica was her main target. Every citation, every fake fine evidence for a much bigger case. She'd traced tens of thousands in bogus landscaping fees to a shell company run by Veronica's own brother-in-law. She was waiting for the perfect moment to blow it all open, and I had no clue. Honestly, I thought she was just being weirdly zen about everything. That's marriage for you. Meanwhile, Veronica kept up the pressure. By week 3, she sent a mass email to all 200 residents, painting us as dangerous new neighbors, lying about threats to children and made-up late-night activity. The fallout? My biggest writing contract canceled because the client was concerned about negative publicity. That's when I snapped corner Diana in the kitchen, accused her of being cold, manipulative, maybe even complicit in our own downfall. She took it, didn't yell, just sat outside on the porch alone, hands shaking for the first time. That moment I realized she was hurting too. She wasn't some invincible machine. She was playing a dangerous, lonely game for all the right reasons. The pressure mounted legal threats, eviction letters, more fines, all delivered with that smug, "you're not welcome here" attitude from Veronica. But behind the scenes, Diana was ramping up her investigation. Encrypted calls, meeting colleagues at night, preparing folders marked evidence. I heard her on the phone talking about Target getting suspicious and timeline accelerating. Even then, I didn't get it. I felt like a bystander in my own life, watching my wife become a stranger I couldn't recognize. Then came the final move. Veronica, desperate, decided to play her last card. She called 911, claiming Diana was a violent threat who needed to be arrested immediately. What she didn't realize, the officers on that call had been briefed by Diana herself, who, by the way, was the newly sworn-in county sheriff. Yemi wife, the sheriff. I didn't even know until that morning, when she walked into the kitchen in uniform, badge gleaming, calm as ever. "In an hour, you'll understand everything," she told me, and I just sat there with my coffee, wondering how many other secrets she was keeping. The cops showed up, no sirens, just routine. Veronica was ready for her big moment, waving her councilwoman badge, shrieking about danger. The deputy started his questioning, and then Diana, in the most cinematic way you can imagine, flashed her sheriff's badge and introduced herself. The look on Veronica's face, total collapse. Every ounce of superiority, every sneer, just evaporated. She called the cops on the sheriff, in front of the entire neighborhood, half of whom were recording on their phones. Diana calmly laid out the mountain of evidence: embezzlement, fraud, shell companies, the whole operation. Veronica's meltdown was something to behold. Denial, anger, bargaining, all in rapid succession. She was arrested, taken away in handcuffs, as the neighbors, many of whom had believed her lies, watched in silence or filmed the whole thing. Frank, the guy who once avoided us, came over with tears in his eyes, apologizing for doubting us, for not standing up sooner. Diana just nodded, still all business, but I could see the weight lifting off her shoulders. The aftermath was wild. The audit revealed Veronica had stolen over $200,000 from the HOA over 18 months. Her cronies were arrested, the shell companies were dissolved, and she was kicked off the city council in disgrace. Frank was elected HOA president, promised transparency, and the community rallied. Fees dropped, rules relaxed, and for the first time since moving in, it felt like home. Diana received statewide awards for her investigation. News crews camped outside our house, wanting the story of the sheriff next door. I even turned it all into a book that hit the local bestseller list suddenly. The freelance writer who just wanted a quiet life became the guy married to a hero. But let me say this, the most satisfying moment wasn't seeing Veronica led away in cuffs. It was sitting on our porch with Diana, watching kids play on the sidewalk, neighbors actually smiling again, and knowing we'd weather the storm together. It made me realize that sometimes real justice works quietly beneath the surface, showing up at just the right moment. So what about you? Ever seen a bully finally get what's coming to them? Drop a comment below. Let's hear your stories of justice, of community, of people who refuse to back down. Because, trust me, you never really know who your neighbor is or what they're capable of. Funnel the day, everything changes.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to. Yeah.
Yeah,
The fence.